Zohran Mamdani is driving a socialist wedge in the Democratic Party. A new report revealing House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries could have a progressive revolt on his hands for not endorsing the assemblyman for mayor. Pressure is building for the party establishment to get behind their candidate. New York State Governor Kathy Hochul did this week. Either way, Mamdani may not need any help. He holds a comfortable lead in the polls, and his opposition remains divided. Larry, he's going to win. I think the question is, what does it mean beyond New York City? Does his win mean opportunities for Republicans to say, here's how socialism works, you don't want to have it? Or is he going to finagle his way into something that gains traction across the country? What do you think?
I think he's the blight on the Democratic message.
Okay.
And I think that he will show once again that socialism and big government and all that does not work, okay? I mean, it's crazy. This is if he says if Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu comes to New York, he's going to arrest him.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of crap is that?
Yeah.
All right, and he's a complete anti-Semite, and everybody knows that, and he doesn't back off any of that. The rest of it, you know, substitute social workers for cops, really? This is a great article a week ago. Jason Riley from the Wall Street Journal. You want to conquer crime? Put more cops on the street and in the subways. And I hope Curtis Sliwa debates him well on all these issues. No, it's a blight. I mean, Hochul, who just, you know, she's a little jellyfish. She endorsed him.
Yeah.
He's not going to even endorse Hochul. The big winner here is going to be Elise Stefanik, who's going to be a powerful Republican candidate for governor, in my view. And maybe that will get some change in Albany, which pulls many of the strings.
Larry, I got to say respectfully, I disagree. I don't think he is a blight on the Democratic Party. I think he represents today's Democratic Party. I mean, if you talk to most young Democrats, they think that you do have a right to a job, a right to home, a right to health care, you know, a right to all these things that aren't really right. So, you know, this is a reflection of the education that's been going on in the best universities for the last 20 years. They're the ones that put Mamdani in this place in effect. And to your point, I think he's going to win. He is where the culture is right now. Socialism, for lack of a better term, is in fashion in New York City and around the country.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, when I said blight, it's just, I think it will represent the Democrats, but it will damage the Democrats in the midterms, in a lot of swing states and swing districts, you know, Mamdani. But, you know, the Democratic Party is in complete disarray right now. It doesn't know anything. And I guess this goes to the Charlie Kirk tragedy. You know, free speech, free markets, family values, faith. These are core values in America. The Democratic Party does not embrace those core values anymore. They're too busy running around calling everybody they disagree with, calling them a fascist or Hitler or something like that. So that's worn out because of the tragedy of Charlie Kirk. And there will be a backlash against that kind of thinking. So Mamdani runs, I mean, if he stays with what he's doing, it won't help New York, not going to help anybody, won't help Democratic Party, won't help anybody.
President Trump promised us when he was elected that he wasn't going to let New York go down the toilet. And now he's threatening to pull the federal funds away from Mamdani.
He can't do that.
Okay.
He just can't do it. I mean, there has to be a specific reason to do it, you know, like Columbia University or something. Of course, the president's unhappy with this, but to some extent, he's powerless. And you know, Brian's right. You look at the numbers. Now, there will be a debate. Yeah. Lydia, when is the debate?
It's October
You were talking
14th.
about it?
Yeah, in a few weeks, I think, on one of the local channels here in New York.
Right. So
hopefully people will tune in and watch.
Do you think it'll make a difference, Lydia?
Well, one of the issues is just the low voter turnout. You know, in the last general election, mayoral election, voter turnout in the city was roughly 1 in 4. 1 in 4. You know, it just makes you wonder who's voting and why.
And Mamdani's supporters are passionate. I mean, they are true believers in this cause, in his cause.
But I got to tell you something. I walk around the streets and I'm always eavesdropping on people on their phones and people talking to each other. And I've heard more and more, at least once a day, I pass somebody who's on the phone or having a conversation about, we need to do something about this. We can't let this guy come in. I think voters are going to be somewhat galvanized. I don't know if it's going to be enough, Lydia, to change the turnout numbers in Cuomo's favor, let's say, but...
Curtis Sliwa will win the debate. And he's got several bullets to make, and I hope he makes them, okay? Cuomo is a terrible debater. Adams is a terrible debater. Mamdani will be a word salad. He won't want to say anything about anything. So,
which is probably a smart strategy for him. He's pretty good at doing that when you're ahead.
But I think Sliwa has a terrific opportunity to cause some real trouble. I mean, as I've said many times, for whatever it's worth, Curtis is a longtime friend. I'm for Curtis. And, you know, Curtis, the Republican, he'll want to cut taxes and put 10,000 more cops on the street. And, you know, look, Mamdani's vulnerable. I mean, I know it's just one debate, but who knows? Let's just see what happens day by day.
I think the interesting question is, what does Mamdani represent in this moment? Look, the Charlie Kirk assassination is definitely going to create some backlash. But sadly, we're also finding out there's a huge contingent of this population in America who does affiliate with that hard left view and sadly, with their propensity to praise sometimes political violence. So you just wonder in this moment, does Mamdani also galvanize some of that? I think it's bad for the Democratic Party, but it also could mean more people like him in more positions of power. I think we're at a very precarious moment because we are still a two-party system, and that Democratic Party is going to matter, even if they're in the minority, Larry.
Well, I tell you, you're right about the numbers. I mean, we've been doing it. You've been talking about it. It really comes down the difference between right and wrong, good and evil. And I think it comes down to faith. This is an assault on faith. It's an assault on God. It's an assault on religion. You have to have a conscience. If you disagree with someone, you don't assassinate them. All right? We all know there's too much violence. But the fact is, the violence has predominantly been in the Democratic Party, almost 100%. And it's part of the Trump derangement syndrome. We had Britt Hume on last night talking about that. And the Democratic Party, they don't have much to offer, so they call names, you know. So here's Charlie Kirk, who believes in free markets, free speech, freedom, and that's fascism? How can you call him that word, fascist, is just, not only is it so wrong historically and definitionally, but it is an incitement to violence. That's what you got to go after. And, you know, if people keep using that word, they have to be held accountable to it. You have to say, you stand up and say, that is wrong. Don't let it get away.
It is the utter abuse of language. Agree with you.